Well, when you think of March, what do you think of? I think of large weather swings, big storms, sometimes severe weather. I'm not saying we're going to get exactly that, but the pattern is starting to definitely favor a March look as we move through the next week or so. We're going to talk about that in today's video. We're also going to talk about the snow that's falling across parts of the Northeast, also across the West, which is increasing as we head through the week. Okay, let's talk about the upper level pattern first. Some cooler weather headed here into the Great Lakes, also into the Northeast. While out west, we're starting to see a couple of things happen. First of all, this southwest flow and this trough that's swinging to California, it's going to put some snow into the higher elevations of Utah into Colorado. Decent snow, too. You got to get pretty high up, at least above 7,500 feet in some of these areas to see some decent snow. But this right here is the big boy that we're watching as we head into next week to swing in. We're also going to be watching this upper low that's going to swing eventually all across the south. And does it do what the European says and try to develop something here off the coast? I am not sold on that. I'll show you why in just a second. But this trough has been persistent here in the West. Big changes out here. We're talking about going from hardly any snow and rain to a period of quite a bit of rain and snow. Let's talk about the short term, and we'll take you all the way through the rest of what's left of this week into next week. Some showers moving across the Tennessee Valley, also the southern Appalachians into the south. That'll bring rain and also some cooler weather after a pretty warm day today. Temperatures will be on the way down. Not much of a warm up in the Northeast. In fact, it's just going to stay cold here and get colder with some snow falling. We'll look at those totals in just a second. Across the West, we're watching this again, this trough swinging in, putting some snow here into the Sierra, also into the Wasatch, into the Park Range, into Colorado. Higher elevations, especially in northern Colorado, could see 10 to 15 inches. Get a little further south, places like Vail, maybe 5 to 10. Either way, there's some snow on the way, something we've not talked about much out here in the West. Also up into Wyoming here, some of these southern ranges, maybe 10, 15 inches at the highest spots. So it's going to be limited to the higher elevations. The valleys are going to be a little too warm with this type of setup. As we look further to the east, this front will push off the southern coast of Georgia and down into Florida with a few showers here. Otherwise, we start to dry out across the Tennessee Valley. A few lake effect snow showers lingering in this colder air, and then otherwise quiet across Texas into Oklahoma. Maybe a few showers on the northern side of this front as it dangles here. And then we start to see some return flow develop heading into Saturday as this upper low across Arizona starts to work across the country. This is where things get pretty interesting, and they really start to split. And I haven't made my mind up what's going to happen with this upper low because I want to show you how this piece of energy, it's not really cut off. It's moving into Southern California, into parts of Baja California heading into Friday. This will likely bring some showers into New Mexico, into parts of Texas. That overrunning lift is going to start to increase rain chances from Tennessee all the way back to Texas. So a wet ride heading into Friday night into Saturday from I-40, I-30, all wet here, even down towards I-10. We'll see some showers as this system moves east. The European is handling this much different than what the GFS is showing. Both models are showing this colder weather and the rain and the wind and the snow moving into the west, but here's where the GFS is different than the European. The European wants to take this upper low and develop a big coastal low here sometime Saturday into Sunday. The mighty Euro has been pretty faithful this year. The GFS is handling this upper low completely different. It wants to take it all the way and wrap it down here into the Gulf Coast and not do any type of storm generation, cyclogenesis, bombogenesis, whatever you want to call it, off the East Coast, and then move it out to sea. I don't know that I'm buying that just yet. Take a look. Here is the GFS, by the way. Here comes that energy. It's cut off. Okay, so your flow, your jet stream, is pretty far to the north, and this upper level energy, this cold pocket of air, is now stuck just south of Pensacola. Completely cut off from the flow, which is up here. And what you don't see is a strong developing low because this energy just doesn't catch up with the northern stream. I'll tell you one thing, never trust an upper low. First of all, don't trust the forecast. I don't trust anything on an upper low when you look out more than 3 or 4 days because they're like an eddy spinning in the river that's meandering. If it gets out of the flow, that's kind of what we're looking at. This vorticity that gets cut off from the flow, it's very unpredictable, in my opinion, and the models do a terrible job of handling it. Again, the European says we're going to get a big storm. But let's move ahead. I feel more confident the fact that it's going to snow out west and turn cold. And we could really be dealing with some snow in some decent amounts, too, here into the Sierra, Northern California. Finally getting some decent snow into Utah, too. Northern Arizona, New Mexico, Colorado, the San Juans. Everybody gets in on this, I do believe. This looks significantly different with a high-impact winter setup across the west. Further to the east, again, we're looking now over a week. Are we going to be dealing with some kind of storm? Are we looking at, this is a very March-like setup. Big storm, big low moving toward the Great Lakes, a lot of warm air moving north. Are we looking at an early severe weather event? Still way too early. We've got a lot to flesh out before we get to this point. Let's take a look at the temperatures. First of all, where it's going to be cold, we're going to get some snow. These will be your highs on, these will be your temperatures as we head through Wednesday. Cold enough for snow into the northeast. Some of the snow will add up, especially into Ontario, into Quebec, and also into northern New York. Watertown, some snow on the way here. A couple of inches. You can deal with more. You've dealt with more snow than this, so certainly not a showstopper here. And even down towards Pittsburgh, a few flurries and snow showers, less than an inch of snow here. If we're going to see some decent accumulation with this as it moves through the northeast in this cold air, I think it's going to be for places like upstate New York, Vermont, New Hampshire. Somebody here could get 4 or 5, even into down east Maine, close to 6 inches of snow as this disturbance drops off to the east. A little bit further to the west, these temperatures, so let's go all the way to the, well, let's start here across the central U.S., and then we'll work our way back to the west. Temperatures on the way down after a pretty warm day today across Missouri, also into Kansas, into parts of really the central U.S. You can see these temperatures a lot cooler than what we saw today, but it's not going to last. We start to rebound nicely. The numbers coming up again as we head into Thursday, also into Friday, much warmer, back up into the 50s, pretty far to the north. And then heading into the weekend, I think all this is going to depend on where that low goes, but what you don't see is a lot of cold air here with this storm. If anything, if you're going to get some kind of storm development, which I think the chances are lower now than it was even a couple of days ago, the storm is going to generate its own cold air. All right, across the west, the snow is going to be heavy at times. Let me show you what's happening over the next 24 hours or so through at least Wednesday nights. Decent snow falling in the Sierra, places like Bryan Head, Alta, several inches possible, 5 to 10. Some areas could see more than that, especially above 7,000 feet. And then more snow up here into Idaho, and decent snow falling too into parts of British Columbia, the Canadian Rockies, places like Banff, Lake Louise, a little bit of snow on the way here, back to the west towards Revelstoke. Down towards Whistler, snow level's pretty high here, but look what happens heading into the following week. Man, it's been a long time since we've seen a snow map like this out west. And it's not just across the northwest, it's also into the southwest too. Now, this is what we're looking like through Sunday. You can see that snow into Colorado. Again, high elevations. At least, what is this? You can time it out through Wednesday into Thursday. That looks like when the heaviest snow will fall into the mountains here, into the Utah and Colorado. But look how we really open this up heading into next week. Impressive looking in some of these areas. I mean, if you look closely, you're showing more than, I had to look at this and go, are we really going to see 50, 60, 70 inches of snow? Listen, it's happened before in the Sierra. That's what March is notorious for, this type of setup across the west. So to me, this looks really active. If you've not subscribed, I hope you'll consider coming back. A lot of OGs, I've seen you in the chat. I see your comments. I always love hearing from you wherever you are. I love to know what's going on in your world. Leave me a comment below. See you next time.